hell is this? So 2 in 1 week, and this is Lost in Space. This was my original what the hell is this until I saw Wakanda Forever. This is this was in the 90s reboot of the 60s TV show, and it was a disaster. It's bad, but it's bad for a certain reason. Again, it's the script. The script's terrible. The culprit is Akiva Goldsmith, who also had just written Batman and Robin. And it has the same level of script as Batman and Robin. It's really bad. The difference in this one, though, is everyone else involved in the film is trying a lot harder than writing Batman and Robin. It's better directed than Batman and Robin. It's better acted. They're trying, but the lines are just as bad and the plot's just as bad. So it's an interesting look at what happens when everyone's trying and the script's awful. And that's Lost in Space. So Lost in Space came about when they were doing a lot of adaptations of TV shows because Untouchables had worked. Mission Impossible had worked. Both of them De Palma, so he knew how to do it. The Fugitive had worked. But most of them hadn't. I mean, Addams Family had worked. But for all those that had worked, usually it's because they talented people in the writing and directing thing. And that's how it works. They looked at it as a film, like, this is what they did in TV show, this is the source material, but we're making a film, so we're not going to do everything, we're going to do bits. We'll take bits from it, like the things that work, and then we'll change the rest around. I mean, De Palma infamously made the hero of the TV show the villain in Mission Impossible and annoyed a lot of people. You know, The Fugitive didn't really follow the general idea, but did their own thing with it. Addams Family had their own style. The Untouchables had not much to do with the old show. So it's a case of finding your balance and then mapping it out. Lost in Space was a show that I watched as a kid. We used to repeat some of it on Sunday afternoons. So I was aware of the TV show. It was campy, Everyone Allen stuff, but it was enjoyable silliness. I mean, it was a family lost in space, and the ones I saw they were on a planet, stuck on a planet. And it was ridiculous. It was silly. And you were kind of, when I went to see the film, I was hoping to keep some of that silliness because it really needed it. Because it really was a silly idea. But you needed to enjoy the campiness of it. This was one of the films that were anti-camp. This was like, we're going to be really serious. Which was a problem because it had a script that was below level of camp. This script is awful. The script is... It fails in so many ways. First of all, it fails in basic storytelling because what they do is they start the film with the origin of what's happening, how do they get lost in space. So the first third of the film is about that, about them launching, about the ship and problems and how they basically have to do this jump that takes them into the middle of space where they don't know where they are. And instead of spending the rest of the film having one problem to deal with and then having it escalate as they're dealing with that situation, it jumps into what would be a 2-part episode where there's another plot you have to deal with. So you never really get the after effects of them being lost in space. So the thing you're going to the film for, you don't get. Instead you get this hyperactive plot dealing with time travel that takes away your chance to actually watch the characters recover from being lost in space in any way that would be character based. And you get this adventure that doesn't make any sense. And you've got lots of explanations that make no sense. So you have a script that doesn't understand basic storytelling of get characters from A to B, have some character beats, and actually have them develop slowly through an adventure scenario. Instead it's got, we'll set it up and then we'll do this obscure sci-fi plot, which actually takes out most of the characters from the plot. So there's quite a few of the characters from the family who are seen only pretty much on a TV screen for the last 2/3 of the film, or in brief scenes that you get throughout. So you're basically concentrating 3 or 4 characters, and the rest are just thrown to the side instantly. It's like, well, okay, it was meant to be about family, and instantly you're not doing that. But we're going to have lots of speeches of the importance of family. But we're not going to do that as a plot. We're not going to develop the plot so that everyone has a moment of actually growing into this new situation, and actually going from being brats to being civilized. Because, I mean, it does not start off well. A lot of the characters are spoiled rotten in this film. And they do not develop at all. And what's worse, if you've seen Batman and Robin, you know how bad the one-liners were there? These are worse. The characters speaking one-liners or speaking bland dialogue about the importance of family. And the film ignores all that. So you get characters who are not developed in a obscure plot, in a plot that just veers sharp left from where you thought the film was going, and never does anything satisfying with these characters. It's a recipe for disaster. It's one of those things where it's like, why did this film get greenlit? And the reason why was Kira Goldsmith had written Batman Forever, which had been a hit, and they thought Batman and Robin was going to be a hit, so they greenlit this film. And so instead of just having one bomb, he had two massive bombs, because all the problems in that film was in this too. And it was just like, wow, why would you not even read the script and see this is a problem script? Because, I mean, Matt LeBlanc is the pilot, speaks only in terrible one-liners and inappropriate seduction techniques to the daughter of his boss, blatantly in front of his boss the whole time. And they're the worst one-liners ever. And people jump from one thing to the other without any character base between them. So he's trying to seduce the daughter, who's like in her 20s, played by Ella Graham. He says the worst things imaginable that should get him punched. He doesn't get punched. She ends up kissing him at the end in front of her parents, which is creepy and weird. It's like, what do you like stalkers? What? So that doesn't work at all. It's like, it's embarrassing anytime those two are on the screen together. It's like, oh god, not again. This is awful. His technique is terrible, and he's an obnoxious character throughout it. You know, there's that. That's a big issue. That's just a sign of every other character. Every other character speaks in terrible dialogue too, and terrible lines, and it's jumping motivation. And it's like, I don't feel a person here. I just feel someone been told to say an actor been told to say lines and hoping it works, because they must have known it wasn't working. So that it's that thing is like, oh, we're a star screenwriter. We'll follow the script, and then we won't realise it's a terrible script. So that's the main problem this film is, the script's awful. Because it jumps into this thing of you have like a 40-minute section at the beginning where you establish that the Earth's in trouble. They found this other Earth far away. For some reason, instead of everyone just getting together and trying to get to the other planet, are split in two. Even though they start the thing saying, oh, we're no longer at war, then it turns out they're at war, and so they go to war with each other. And it's whoever side gets to there first gets the land. So into that they send a family to build a portal on their side that will allow them both to go through this area to actually reach this land, this new Earth, basically. Way overcomplicated. And it does not involve... So you expect that to actually play a part in the rest of the story. Because of setting it up so much, it's thrown away instantly. So you get 40 minutes of setup that gets thrown away. And also, it's like, why are you not just sending experts to this thing? And if it's so important, why do you not have security all over the place? Why is, like, Dr. Smith, played by Gary Oldman, who steals the film without even trying. He's not even trying this film, but he steals the film anyway, because he's a professional actor. He can sneak in and cause sabotage for an important mission, and there's no security. It's like, none of this makes sense. And there's no security checks at all. And he's a stowaway. And there's just lots of issues that causes a lot of malfunctions. After something lost in space to do this blind jump into wherever. So the setup makes no sense. It's like scene after scene of explanation of stuff that doesn't make any sense. They try to show that they're an important, serious sci-fi movie, which they're desperate to do. And the film can't pull it off because it's stupid. It's stupid in character, it's stupid in setup. It doesn't have the patience to have any setup that pays off. And everyone just explains who they are in the dialogue, rather than actually having dialogue that would actually infer who they are. No, they have to just explain it. Like, your son's doing this for this, and this is why he's a tearaway. Rather than actually having scenes with his son showing that he's inventive and trying things, they just have people explain things to everybody. Like William Hurt's character is a man obsessed with his work. You're told that so many times. When you have William Hurt play the character, you just have to let him be in a scene and you know he's obsessed with his work. You don't need to explain any of this stuff. And we go through so many. We lose at least 40 minutes of people explaining stuff that we already know in dialogue. Because everyone doesn't just be, they actually have to explain who they are. Gary Oldman's always explaining why he's a villain. And it's like, you cast Gary Oldman, you give him a goatee, he's playing Dr. Smith in Lost in Space. He's the villain. You don't need to explain any of that stuff. You have so many explanations of why Matt LeBlanc's character's a rebel. You know, consistently, but it doesn't explain why he's a dick the whole film. It doesn't explain anything because you don't have a character actually interacting and doing stuff that makes sense. Instead, you just explain he's a rebel, blah blah blah. He'll do this and do that, and then when he does anything, it never makes any sense anyway. And it's like, I need to explain all this to make him not look like a horrible person, even though he is a horrible person. It's just goes on and on like this. It's so painful to watch. It took me a few viewings to watch this one. I had to keep on stopping. It's just the dialogue is terrible. It's like, and you're feeling as though they were told you have to see this dialogue, even though it doesn't make any sense. You have to see it. You definitely a sense of a writer on the set making sure they say his dialogue, and everyone's stuck with the dialogue. And there's all these explanations of the time travel thing, and like the setup, it's thrown away instantly when you don't need it anymore. They build it up, and lots of time spent on it. We see a future version of the Will Robinson character, who's the boy, and Jared Harris comes in to play an older version of him. And you've all this explanation, blah blah blah, but there's no drama to it. It's just like explanation after explanation, an obvious explanation. And of course, again, they have to say the importance of family about 10 times, even though they don't talk to each other like normal people. This film is just disastrous script. It's just like, and nothing makes sense. And the ending's so stupid. The ending basically is they don't have velocity to take off the planet as it explodes. So they go inside the planet where the gravity's actually stronger and we don't get crushed instantly. And they go through the centre of the planet, which is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in a film. I remember thinking it was really dumb when I first saw it, and watching it, I was like, wow, this really is dumb. The effects are enjoyable. Let's say that. The effects are always enjoyable in this film. They're old-fashioned and there's too much CGI, but they are enjoyable. There's imagination by all the departments. It's just they're stuck in a script. That's terrible. I mean, that's the big thing with this film is the production design's good. The actors are doing their best, even though I've said how awful LeBlanc's character is. LeBlanc's actually trying his best to deal with a character who's so badly written. All the actors are professional. William Hurt's actually trying. He's not given anything to do, but he's trying his damnedest to make this thing work. Gary Oldman is probably not trying because he knows how bad it is, but he's got the craftsmanship to make this guy amusing, even though he's playing a guy. This was in the middle of Gary Oldman's thing of he was getting given villain after villain after villain, and you could tell by this point he was bored to tears playing a villain. He was just like, it was that kind of thing of, I can't do any more of these bloody parts. These are all the same. But at this point, he was actually kept the goatee from Air Force One. Just he's the same look as Air Force One. He just had given up at this point. And he kind of stopped after this film and took time off and then come back and did other more variations of parts. I think he just had to stop and not be around for a while so that people would give him other parts for Beyond Villains. Because he just had hit a rut of villain parts after villain parts. Because he played them so well for Luc Besson that people just get lazy. So he's the best thing in the film, even though he's put the least effort. There's lots of women characters, the mother and Mimi Rogers, the mother, Hella Graham's the older daughter, Lacey Chabelt's the younger daughter. She's really annoying. But again, it's like, it's the writing. Really, I don't think it's the actress's fault. I think she's doing what she's asked to do. She's just been told to be an obnoxious teenager who's very self-involved, and she does it, and you can't stand the character. The young kid playing young Willie Robinson's fun, because he's the only one who seems to know he's in meant to be a fun movie. Everyone else has been given this script, they have to try and be more serious, but also say really bad one-liners that come out of nowhere and are unmotivated. And they're trying their best, but this makes no sense. But all the women characters are thrown to the side at every opportunity. They're in it enough so they say, look, women characters in here. But it's all about the boys, ultimately. There's even jokes about how they're being told off of all the testosterone involved and stuff. It's almost an excuse to say, look, see, we like women after all. And then they throw the women out of the film for 20 minutes. So all the boys can actually have the action scenes. It's misogyny at its worst because it's saying, oh, we like women characters, but we're not going to give them anything to do, and we're not going to try anything. Because what the film needed was they get lost in space, and then it's all the characters, how they evolve. That's what a sane version of this series would have done. Instead, it just is like, chuck them to the side as quickly as possible. Don't let us listen to them at all. And the only character we ever pay attention to is Hella Graham, because Matt Milbank's character wants a boner. Well, in front of all our family are around all opportunities, and he's still trying this. It's like, look, you can just have a bit of patience here, because she can't go anywhere else. It's like, why are you behaving so obnoxiously? So that's just terrible. I mean, director Stephen Hopkins, who had a run of actually like fun B movies in the 90s. He had Predator 2, The Ghost of Darkness, Judgment Night, Blown Away. All fun B movie films. They're not A-level McTiernan and James Cameron level films. But they're films I enjoy. I've watched all of those films a few times. They're enjoyable films. This was his worst film at that point, because he's moved on to TV a lot. He's done some other films, but he's moved on to TV. He helped start 24, and he's done some other stuff. So he's had a decent enough career, but this was his worst film. And again, it's not his fault as a director. Maybe he should have turned it down, but it was his big gig. It was like, you want to do this film? This is your biggest budget film. So obviously, he thought it was a good opportunity. And he's enlisted one of the producers, and he's trying throughout to have good actors, have good production designers, move the camera a lot and try and cover the action, try and make it make sense. So it's a director trying to make this thing work. He's not been lazy, but he's stuck with a script that cannot stick to anything for too long. It's just full of scenes jammed together in nonsensical ways. And it's like, there's no way you can survive if a script is bad. There's just no way. So that's the big problem in Lost in Space. I mean, I do not hate the writer for everything he's written. I actually think Batman and Robin's an enjoyably awful film. I mean, I'm a big fan of how bad that film is. I like Constantine. He worked in Constantine. They're doing a sequel to it now. I like Constantine a lot. So it's not everything he touches, but this is his worst thing. Worse than Batman and Robin. This is like, because the actors are trying, and they're getting shafted at every opportunity. And the dialogue is just so bad. And he cannot write one line of dialogue that felt like said by a human being in this film. Not one. Everything's terrible. So, yeah, this one is like a car crash film. This is like 1998 Avengers level bad, that kind of Speed 2 level bad. It's like, and again, it's because they don't, there's something wrong in the mix, and this one's the script. Same with Speed 2, ultimately, the script there too. But it's like, it was that kind of period where they financed a lot of films. And it was like, did you not read the script before you financed it? Because the script didn't work. There was just a lot of films like this released in 1998 and 1987, where it was just like mega budgets. They had the money to spend. They'd had a lot of hits. And they wanted to keep on spending and making bigger films. But they were financing films that were based in terrible projects. So this one is one to avoid. This one's terrible. But if you're a masochist, you may enjoy it. But I would avoid it. Like most of the films I cover in this series, I would avoid this one. Right, that's me for now. Right, bye.